This is Atlantic Television Network. Welcome to Global News. First, the highlights. Fubara lauds defection of PDP senators, reps to APC. Tinubu urges unity, religious tolerance to Nigerians. Reps investigate alleged errors in Tax Reform Act. FG begins full digital transition with ECMS launch. Guinea-Bissau military junta releases 6 opposition politicians. Simon confident Super Eagles will overcome Tunisia. Davido joins Uncle Adeleke's Accord party. Rivers State Governor Siminalayi Fubara has formally welcomed the members of the National Assembly who defected from the People's Democratic Party to the ruling All Progressives Congress, describing their decision as courageous, principled and forward-looking. A statement issued in Port Harcourt by the Senior Special Assistant on Media to the Governor, Boniface Onyedi, said the lawmakers' action represents a bold demonstration of commitment to the collective progress of Rivers State and Nigeria as a whole. The Governor also commended them for aligning with earlier defectors who had already taken similar steps in support of his administration and the ruling APC and the lawmakers. The decision goes beyond mere political realignment, describing it as a strong validation of his own earlier decision to join the APC. He also said the development signals the emergence of a united and strategic political front aimed at fully integrating Rivers State into the center of national governance, stressing that the growing coalition reflects the visible transformation taking place under the leadership of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu and is fully aligned with the renewed hope agenda of the federal government. Fubara expressed confidence that the expanding support base in Rivers State would contribute significantly to the success of the president's ongoing reforms and further reaffirmed his unwavering resolve to deliver victory for President Tinubu in the 2027 general elections and called on all well-meaning people of Rivers State to join the APC in ushering in a new era of progressive politics, peace, stability and unprecedented prosperity. Delta State Police Command has arrested 13 suspected members of a notorious cult group and recovered assaulted firearms, vehicles, and other dangerous items during a tactical operation in the state. The suspects were arrested at Ekraka Community Forest, Kokori in the Ethiop East local government area. A statement signed by the spokesperson for the command, Bright Edafe in Wari, said the breakthrough was recorded in the command's sustained fight against cultism and violent crimes across the state. Meanwhile, the command reiterated its zero tolerance for cultism and violent crime, calling on parents, schools, community and faith leaders, as well as youths to see the fight against cultism as a shared responsibility driven by guidance, positive role models and timely reporting. The statement urged residents to remain vigilant and continue supporting the police with credible information as efforts to keep the state safe continue. Edo State Governor Monday Okpebholo has demanded 25 billion naira damages from the state chairman of the People's Democratic Party (PDP), Dr. Anthony Eziegbemi, over alleged defamation of character and libel. Governor Okpebholo also demanded an apology from the PDP state chairman to be published in 3 national dailies, and the demands were made in a letter addressed to Eziegbemi dated 22nd December 2025 and signed by his lawyer R.I.D. Okeze Esquire. Okpebholo faced a 7-day ultimatum to the PDP state chairman to pay the 25 billion naira damages and also to publish a retraction on 3 national dailies. Director General of the World Trade Organization, Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, has joined Abia State Governor Dr. Alex Oti to inaugurate the first batch of 20 electric buses introduced for green shuttle services across the state. The inauguration ceremony held at the International Conference Center, Umuahia, marked a significant step in the state's transition to environmentally sustainable public transportation. Speaking at the event, Oti described the initiative as a defining moment in Abia's journey towards a cleaner and more sustainable future, adding that the state initially began its public transport reforms with compressed natural gas-powered buses, but decided to move fully into electric mobility in line with global trends. The governor also said the electric buses were manufactured to be fully compliant with the needs of persons with disabilities, adding that inclusivity was a core consideration in the project, adding that additional charging stations would soon be installed in Aba, Ohafia, and other locations, and would also be accessible to private owners of electric vehicles. Inaugurating the buses, Okonjo-Iweala commended Oti for what she described as a bold and forward-looking intervention in the fight against pollution and climate change, and described the buses as a deliberate shift from fossil fuels to cleaner energy, solutions that reduce carbon emissions, curb noise pollution, and promote healthier urban living. National Emergency Management Agency has distributed relief materials to households affected by flooding in various communities in Eziabo-Udi Federal Constituency, Enugu State. A statement posted on its official X handle on Wednesday, NEMA said the distribution was part of its ongoing commitment to provide timely and effective disaster response across the country and targeted families displaced or impacted by recent flood disasters. Speaking during the exercise, the Director General of NEMA, Mrs. Zubaida Omar, through the Head of Operations, Mrs. Ngozi Ichazu, represented by Mrs. Chantel Chuku, sympathized with the affected residents. All Progressives Congress in Ebonyi State says primaries for the forthcoming local government and councillorship elections will be held on January 25, 2026. The state chairman of the party, Stanley Emega, who disclosed this during a briefing with a journalist in Abakaliki following a state executive committee meeting, advised political appointees intending to contest the elections to comply with Governor Francis Mwifuru's directive to resign before the primaries. He said membership revalidation will begin once the party receives the required registration code, stressing that transparency would guide all party activities throughout the primaries, and also boasted of the party's complete control of political offices in Ebonyi State. The party chairman described the developments as a demonstration of APC's commitment to democracy, transparency, and effective governance in Ebonyi State. The Lagos State Government, through the Lagos State Office for Disability Affairs, has empowered 100 elderly persons with disabilities and elderly parents who have children with disabilities in the state. The annual support program, titled Cash Support and Medical Outreach to Elderly Persons with Disabilities and Elderly Caregivers, aims to fulfill its mandate and the vision of Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu's administration, which it states is committed to ensuring that no citizen is left behind. The program featured the disbursement of cash support and the provision of medical services to beneficiaries drawn from different parts of the state. Speaking at the event held on Monday on La Soda premises in Alausa, Ikeja, the General Manager Adenike Oyetunde Lawal said the financial gesture aligned with the commitment of the Lagos State government to promote inclusion, dignity and social protection for vulnerable groups. Osun State House of Assembly has passed the 2026 appropriation bill, approving a total budget size of 723,045 billion naira after weeks of legislative scrutiny. A statement by the Chief Press Secretary of the House of Assembly, Speaker Olamide Tiamiyu, stressed on extensive deliberations by lawmakers and a detailed review conducted by the House Committee on Finance and Appropriation with input from relevant ministries, departments and agencies. The budget, entitled Budget of Economic Transformation, was described by the Assembly as a major component of the state's fiscal framework for the 2026 financial year. The 2026 budget was presented to the Assembly on November 12, 2025 by the State Governor Ademola Adeleke, adding that the budget is structured to support infrastructure, development, social services, and key sectors including education, healthcare, agriculture, and economic empowerment. Following the passage, the Speaker of the House, Adewale Egbedu, commended lawmakers for their cooperation, stating that the Assembly remains committed to protecting the interests of the people and ensuring effective oversight of public funds. Ojibara of Bayagan Ile of Ifelodun local government area of Kwara State, Kamilu Salami, who was abducted 25 days ago by bandits, has been released. This coming after the monarch who was abducted on his farm was released on Tuesday night. And by the development, residents of the community have been thrown into a frenzy of joy and happiness following the arrival of the monarch. The palace was reportedly bombarded with jubilant residents who crowded to catch a glimpse of their monarch and, more importantly, congratulate him and the family on their safe return to the palace. Spokesperson for the community, Ayinla Lawal, confirms the developments in a message on Wednesday morning. Ayinla said in an interview that the monarch was released after a huge amount of money was paid and expressed confidence that the bandits won't strike again in the community, and also said that the monarch was taken to Ilorin, the state capital, on Wednesday morning for urgent medical attention. The monarch's immediate younger brother, simply identified as Aliyu, who drove the monarch to an undisclosed private hospital in Ilorin, also confirmed the development to newsmen on Wednesday morning during an interview. Plateau State Governor Caleb Mufwang has reiterated his administration's commitment to addressing insecurity in the state with the commissioning of 1,450 newly trained personnel of Operation Rainbow, the state-owned security outfit. The governor spoke at the passing out parade of the operatives at the Zaria Road Stadium in Jos, marking the completion of their 6-month training, adding that the revitalization of Operation Rainbow formed part of his administration's broader strategy to safeguard lives and property across the state. He commended the operatives for their dedication and urged them to uphold professionalism in the discharge of their duties, stressing that effective security begins at the community level, and his administration had prioritized community-based security initiatives, including the strengthening of vigilante support structures. Mufwang urged the operatives to conduct themselves with integrity, restraint, and professionalism while working closely with conventional security agencies and community leaders. Also commended the coordinator of Operation Rainbow, Brigadier General Gaki Shipi, retired, and other security agencies involved in training of the operatives, assuring that indiscipline and unprofessional conduct would not be tolerated. Troops of the Joint Task Force Operation Wellstroke have foiled a kidnapping attempt along the Otukpo-Enugu Expressway in Benue State, rescuing several passengers from armed assailants. A statement by Lieutenant Ahmed Zubairu, Acting Media Information Officer, Headquarters Joint Task Force Operation Wellstroke on Wednesday said troops on routine patrol responded to a distress call around the Amoda axis of Uhimini local government area, and the attackers emerged from the bush, briefly took over an existing checkpoint and stopped two 18-seater commercial buses traveling from Jos, Plateau State to Ibadan, Oyo State. The criminals attempted to abduct all passengers on board the vehicles, but were confronted by troops of Operation Wellstroke, leading to a firefight while the assailants were forced to flee into the bush, abandoning their victims. 15 passengers were initially rescued and handed over to the Nigerian Police Division in Otukpo, while 6 adults and 4 minors were first declared missing. And follow-up operations led to the rescue of 5 additional adults and all 4 minors who are currently in the custody of the Police Area Command in Otukpo, while efforts are ongoing to locate 1 remaining passenger. Reacting to the developments, the Force Commander of Operation Wellstroke, Major General Moses Gara, commended the troops for their swift response and professionalism, and also reaffirmed the task force's commitment to protecting lives and property within its area of responsibility, covering Benue, Nasarawa, and Taraba states. Gara further said sustained offensive operations, intelligence-driven patrols, and collaboration with other security agencies would continue to deny criminal elements freedom of action in the region. 2 people have lost their lives while 19 others sustained injuries in an accident along the Lokoja-Okene Road. The sector commander of the Kogi State Command of the Federal Road Safety Corps, Tenimu Etuku, who confirmed the incident in Lokoja, said 4 of the 19 survivors sustained various degrees of injuries, ranging from bruises to fractures, and have been rushed to a nearby hospital for medical attention. He attributed the cause of the accident to excessive speeding and urged motorists to drive carefully on the highway and adhere to traffic rules and regulations, especially during the Yuletide. Earlier, some passengers lost their lives in a road crash along the Isara Remo area of the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway. Gombe State Governor Muhammadu Inuwa Yahaya has ordered the immediate removal of 4 of his aides following the alleged roles in the assault of a 7th councillor. The decision followed the conclusion of investigations into the attack on Abdurrahman Abubakar Sharif, who represents Shamaki Ward in Gombe local government area. A statement by the governor's spokesperson, Ismaila Uba Mesili, said the directive was communicated by the secretary to the state government, Professor Ibrahim Abubakar Njodi, after a special committee set up by the state government submitted its findings. Governor Yahaya had directed that the dismissal should take effect immediately and instructed the former aides to return all government-owned items in their custody to the relevant authorities, stressing that the governor restated his administration's firm stance against violence, misconduct, and the misuse of public office, warning that such actions will not be tolerated under any circumstances. Kano State Governor Abba Kabir Yusuf has thrown his weight behind the push for the creation of state police, saying it is a key solution to Nigeria's security problems. The governor spoke to the graduation ceremony of 2,000 members of the Kano State Neighborhood Watch Corps held at the Sani Abacha Stadium in Kano, adding that peace and stability can only be achieved when strong security measures are combined with job creation and economic opportunities, and warned that unemployed and idle youths are more likely to be drawn into crime. According to him, state police will help existing security agencies and make it easier to tackle insecurity across the country, adding that decentralizing policing will allow states to respond better to security threats because they understand their local environment, culture, and challenges. The Kano State Neighborhood Watch Corps has 2,000 operatives who will be deployed across the state's 44 local government areas. And out of the total number, 1,870 are men, while 130 are women. And the operatives have completed their training and are ready to handle major security challenges in the state. The governor also said the Corps will be provided with 88 Hilux patrol vehicles and 440 motorcycles to ensure quick response and effective movement. And also described the launch of the Corps as a major step towards strengthening community-based security and improving safety in both urban and rural areas of Kano. Jigawa State House of Assembly has passed into law the state 2026 appropriation bill of 901.8 billion naira and local government budgets of 288 billion respectively. The passage follows the approval of the report of the House Committee on Appropriation presented by the committee chairman Hamza Ibrahim Adamu and the targeted budget of innovation and transformation of Greater Jigawa II was earlier presented to the Assembly on November 25, 2025, focusing heavily on capital projects 77%, education over 26%, and agriculture aiming to boost development in the state. Speaker of the Jigawa State House of Assembly, Aliyu Dangyatim, while declaring the passage of the budget and during a plenary session, said the budget has been approved as presented with a total sum of 901.841 billion naira. According to Dangyatim, the budget allocation is strategic, with capital expenditure getting 693.4 billion naira to drive infrastructure growth and development, and the budget represents a 19.2% increase from 2025, showing the state's commitment to progress. The State Assembly, however, commended Governor Umar Namadi for giving more emphasis on innovation and transformation, and also assured to continue working with the executive for the implementation of the budget. Jigawa State Governor Umar Namadi says the 2026 budget of 901 billion naira reflects the needs of aspirations of citizens as submitted during the Citizens Engagement Program. Madi, who disclosed this after the signing of the 2026 budget into law on Wednesday at the Council Chamber, Government House, Duse said the State House of Assembly passed into law the state's 2026 appropriation bill of 901.8 billion naira and local government budgets of 288 billion naira respectively. Speaking after the signing the budget into law, Governor Namadi said the budget is realistic and reflects all the needs of citizens and further commended the State House of Assembly for the quick scrutiny of the bill within the time frame. Governor Namadi also commended the State Executive Council for the approval of the citizens' engagement and compilation of the demands for appropriate action. You're watching the Global News on Atlantic Television Network. We will be back after this break. Please stay with us. Welcome back. This is the Global News on Atlantic Television Network. Now to the rest of our stories. President Bola Tinubu has called on Nigerians to uphold unity, religious tolerance, and peaceful coexistence, saying his administration remains committed to protecting the rights and safety of citizens of all faiths. In his 2025 Christmas goodwill message released on Wednesday, the president congratulated Christians in Nigeria and across the world, describing Christmas as a season for reflection on the birth of Jesus Christ and his message of peace, love, and hope, adding that the celebration went beyond festivities, noting that the message of Christ as the Prince of Peace was particularly relevant at a time of national challenges. He assured Nigerians that his government was committed to entrenching religious freedom and safeguarding people of different beliefs from violence, stressing that the love of Christ and the message of the gospel had inspired many Nigerians to serve humanity selflessly, adding that their efforts deserved recognition. Tinubu reiterated his administration's commitment to national security, unity, and stability, stressing that all Nigerians had the right to live, worship, and pursue their aspirations in safety and dignity, advertising that no citizen should suffer discrimination or violence on the basis of ethnicity or religion, but love for God and humanity were shared values across faiths. The president further said he had engaged leaders of the two major religions in the country throughout the year, particularly on concerns surrounding insecurity and religious intolerance, adding that the federal government would build on the engagements to strengthen collaboration with religious institutions, prevent conflict, and promote peaceful coexistence. Nigerian Senate has passed President Bola Tinubu's 58.47 trillion naira 2026 appropriation bill for second reading, marking a major step in the consideration of the 2026 national budget. The bill was presented and debated by the Senate leader, Senator Opeyemi Bamidele, who explained that the proposed budget seeks authorization to withdraw a total of 58.47 trillion naira from the Consolidated Revenue Fund of the Federation for the services of the federal government for the year ending December 31st, 2026. Leading the debate, Senator Bamidele described the budget as one of consolidation aimed at sustaining ongoing economic reforms, strengthening public finances, and promoting fiscal stability under the Tinubu administration. While during deliberations, several senators urged the Senate Committee on Appropriations to carry out a thorough and transparent examination of the budget to ensure effective implementation and value for money.
President, defense appears to have the largest share. And that is the mindset of this administration, to secure us, protect us, and of course, our armed forces and other security agencies would have more resources available to them. I still feel that they need more, but within the limits of paucity of funds, I think we can say it's a big shift and it's a good trajectory, which we must maintain.
This budget, which is earmarked at 58.4 trillion naira, is remarkable because the four main things which Mr. President has set out to achieve. Number one, which is extremely fundamental, the role of government, the primary security of lives and property. 5.4 trillion has been earmarked for this. Infrastructure, 3.5 trillion has been earmarked because without adequate infrastructure, the business, society, or economy can't thrive.
That in implementing this budget, adequate attention and priority will be given to farm inputs that will alleviate the suffering of farmers as a result of the inflow of agricultural products without any corresponding inflow and cheaper farm implements and inputs.
That they understand that this money being appropriated is meant to ensure prudent procurement, appropriate remuneration, and ratio payment to our men and women in uniform who are taking all the risk so that Nigeria may be safer. They need to be assisted to move away from the not too happy past, where our main evil government, I listened to a former president saying that he had a report that suggests that insurgents were better equipped than Nigerian army. That should not be the case.
Contributing to the debate were Senators Ahmad Lawan, Yobe North, Asokwo Ekpeyong, Cross River South, and Adams Oshomole, Edo North, stressed the need for accountability, realistic revenue projections, and prioritization of critical sectors. Following the debate, the Senate President, Senator Gospel Akpabio, referred the 2026 appropriation bill to the Committee on Appropriations for detailed legislative scrutiny with a mandate to report back to the chamber within the stipulated time frame.
A bill for an act to authorize the issue from the Consolidated Revenue Fund of the Federation the total sum of 58 trillion 472 billion 628 million 944 759 naira only, of which 4 trillion 97 billion 381 million 103,856 naira only is for statutory transfers, and 15 trillion 909 billion 361 million 631,657 naira only is for debt service, and 15 trillion 251 billion 538 million 827,423 naira only is for recurrent non-debt expenditure, while the sum of 23 trillion 214 billion 347 million 381,824 naira only is for contribution to the development fund for capital expenditure for the year ending 31st day of December 2026. Second reading taken. This bill is now committed to the Committee on Appropriation to revert to the Senate in 1 month.
President of the Senate, Godswill Akpabio, has declared automatic employment for the two sons of his police rider, Deputy Superintendent of Police Hussaini Ibrahim, who died in a motor accident on the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway on Sunday. Akpabio made the declaration on the floor of the Senate while formally informing lawmakers of the officer's death when a petrol tanker rammed into Akpabio's convoy. The incident reportedly occurred in Ibadan, the Oyo State capital, after the Senate President was picked up at the airport following his attendance at the chieftaincy conferment for Senator Abdulaziz Yari and Sheyi Tinubu in Oyo State. The Senate President appealed to heads of ministries, departments and agencies of the federal government to grant automatic employment to the children of the late rider. Akpabio also extended condolences to the family of the deceased, the Inspector General of Police and the Nigeria Police Force, describing Ibrahim as courageous and fearless, adding that the pledge of automatic employment for the late officer's sons was a personal gesture aimed at honoring his sacrifice and years of dedicated service. House of Representatives Ad Hoc Committee investigating alleged discrepancies in the Gazetted Tax Reform Act has resolved to conclude its assignment and submit its report to the House within the shortest possible time. The committee, chaired by Mukhtar Aliyu Batara, met for the first time on Tuesday, December 23, 2025, to deliberate on the privilege matter raised by a member of the House of Representatives at plenary over inconsistencies between the laws passed by the National Assembly and the gazetted versions. During the meeting, members resolved to conclude the investigation and report back to the House within the shortest time for legislative integrity, due process, and public confidence in the lawmaking process, and reaffirming its commitment to transparency and thoroughness. The committee chairman assured that its findings and recommendations would be presented promptly to the House upon the conclusion of the investigation. The ad hoc was constituted to ensure clarity, accuracy, and full conformity between legislation duly passed by the National Assembly and the gazetted tax reforms in line with constitutional provisions and established legislative standards. Chief of Defense Staff General Olufemi Oluyede has felicitated with Nigerians and members of the Armed Forces of Nigeria on the occasion of Christmas, calling for unity, peaceful coexistence, and a renewed commitment to national progress. In a Christmas message issued on Wednesday, Oluyede said personal welfare remains a priority for the Armed Forces leadership, adding that efforts are ongoing to improve living and working conditions in healthcare, accommodation, and allowances of personnel, as well as support for families of deceased personnel. The CDS said tribute to frontline troops deployed across various theaters of operation, commending their courage, discipline, and professionalism during the festive season, stressing that the nation owes them gratitude for their sacrifices and defense of Nigeria. The CDS appreciated Nigerians for what he described as their resilience, patriotism, and support to the armed forces despite the security challenges confronting the country, adding that cooperation between the military and the public remains critical to achieving sustainable peace and security. Speaking on the essence of Christmas, the defense chief further said the reason represents love, sacrifice, hope, and renewal, and offers an opportunity for reflection on shared humanity and collective responsibilities as a nation, and urged military personnel to remain disciplined, professional, and loyal to the Constitution while upholding values of honor, integrity, and service. Action People's Party APP Imo chapter has condemned the alleged restriction of its leader, Mazi Chima Matthew Amadi, not to use the private wing of Sam Mbakwe International Cargo Airport, Owerri, by the agents of the Imo State government. The opposition party claimed the political pettiness and intimidation against Amadi was under the directive of Governor Hope Uzodinma, and APP viewed the attack as not logistical oversight, but a targeted and state-orchestrated action designed to harass and intimidate its leader, Amadi. A statement by the state's publicity secretary, Kajetan, the incident was not as isolated, but part of a sustained and worrying pattern of conduct, adding that it follows closely on the heels of the government's shameful attempt to disrupt the civic reception organized by the enterprising and resourceful people of Ideato Nation in honor of their brilliant, industrious, and performing son and representative, Right Honorable Ikenga Ugochinyeri. Independent National Electoral Commission has declined to recognize the Kabiru Turaki-led National Working Committee of the People's Democratic Party, citing existing court judgments and ongoing legal disputes within the opposition party. INEC made its position known in a letter dated December 22, 2025, signed by its secretary, Dr. Rose Oriara Anthony, adding that it could not act on any request to acknowledge or upload the list of national offices claimed to have emerged from the PDP National Convention held in Ibadan on November 15 and 16, 2025. According to the electoral body, the leadership tussle within the PDP remains the subject of litigation, making it inappropriate for INEC to recognize any factional national officers at this time, adding that its actions must strictly align with subsisting court decisions until the disputes are fully resolved. The rejection represents the latest developments in the prolonged crisis rocking the PDP, which has been marked by parallel claims to party leadership and deep internal divisions, stressing that it would continue to monitor the situation and abide by the final outcome of the judicial processes surrounding the party's leadership structure. Organized labor has called on state governments and local government authorities to take greater responsibility in tackling Nigeria's worsening insecurity, warning that the failure to act decisively is capable of draining household incomes and restricting citizens' freedom of movement. The call follows nationwide protests staged last week by labor unions and civil society groups in Lagos, Abuja, and other parts of the country to draw attention to rising kidnappings, banditry, and violent crime, which labor leaders say have become a permanent feature of daily life in many communities. Chairperson of the Nigeria Labour Congress, Lagos chapter, Comrade Fumi Sesi, said insecurity had gone beyond isolated incidents and now affects daily life and economic activity, adding that while security is often discussed as a federal issue, state and local governments must play a more active role because of their closeness to communities. Vice Chairman of the NLC Lagos chapter, Comrade Olapisi Adebayo Ido, said insecurity persists partly because subnational governments have failed to translate funding into effective action. He said Labour expects states and LGAs to invest more in intelligence gathering, community engagement, surveillance, and rapid response mechanisms. The Labour position comes amid broader national concern over insecurity. In November, President Bola Tinubu declared a nationwide security emergency, ordering the recruitment of 20,000 additional police officers and the expansion of military operations against kidnappings and terrorism. Nigeria has also stepped up security cooperation with international partners, including the United States, focusing on intelligence sharing and defense support. Labour leaders said federal efforts would yield limited results without complementary action by states and local councils. Northern Christian Association of Nigeria, CAN, has called on Nigerian leaders to seize the Christmas season as a turning point for national renewal, justice, and lasting security, warning that the country cannot continue to bleed under the weight of terrorism, banditry, and kidnapping. In a Christmas message signed by its chairman, Reverend Joseph John Hayab, and Secretary General Bishop Mohammed Naga, Northern Khan urged the federal government to go beyond rhetoric by conducting a thorough and transparent investigation into the sponsors and financiers of terror, insisting that lasting peace will remain elusive unless those behind violence crimes are exposed and punished. The association said Christmas, beyond its celebrations, offers Nigerians an opportunity for sober reflection on the moral conscience of the nation and the social direction of the country, adding that Christmas calls the nation to peace, justice, compassion, and respect for the sanctity of human life. While acknowledging the hardship faced by many Nigerians, Northern Khan commended individuals, faith-based organizations, and community leaders who distributed palliatives and supported vulnerable citizens during the festive season, describing such gestures as a reflection of enduring values of love and shared responsibility. On security, the association commended the armed forces and security agencies for their sacrifices in the defense of lives and property, but urged them to remain resolute until insecurity is decisively addressed. Federal government says Nigerian security agencies are working with major social media companies to identify and take down accounts used by terrorists and criminal groups to promote their activities and raise funds. Speaking at an end-of-year briefing in Abuja, the Director General of the National Counter-Terrorism Center, Major General Adamu Laka, said platforms such as TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, and X had been used by terrorists to publicize operations, display looted items, and communicate with supporters. According to him, security agencies have held several engagements with social media companies to address posts and accounts that pose threats to national security, stressing that such terrorist tactics continue to evolve, including the use of aliases and unverified accounts, adding that security agencies are constantly adapting to counter such developments. Laka also said ransom payments remain a major source of terror financing, with point-of-sale operators increasingly exploited to move funds, adding that in many cases, ransom payments are transferred to accounts belonging to POS operators who then release the cash to kidnappers, making tracking more difficult. The counter-terrorism chief said security agencies had intensified efforts to track ransom payments, arrest those involved, and disrupt terror financing networks, but stressed that operational details could not be made public for security reasons, and several arrests and prosecutions had been carried out in connection with ransom payments and terrorism financing, adding that asset recoveries and seizures form part of Nigeria's compliance with international anti-money laundering and counter-terrorism financing standards. Former Vice President Atiku Abubakar has urged President Bola Tinubu to implement a Supreme Court ruling granting financial autonomy to local governments, warning that continued delay harms communities at the grassroots. Atiku made the call in his statements posted on his official X page on Wednesday, stressing that the government has spent nearly 2 years without enforcing the Supreme Court's directive, adding that withholding financial autonomy undermines local governance and development. He called on the president to instruct the Attorney General of the Federation to enforce the judgment immediately, adding that delay could yield failure of leadership. This is coming after President Tinubu had earlier addressed the issue during the 15th National Executive Committee meeting of the All Progressives Congress, urging state governors to comply with the Supreme Court verdict, and also warned that non-compliance might compel him to issue an executive order to ensure direct allocations from the Federation accounts to local councils. The Supreme Court ruling delivered on July 11, 2024, and also upheld the federal government's suit seeking to enforce financial independence for local government, while affirming their rights to direct allocations from the Federation Account Allocation Committee. And that's the global news for tonight. Before we go, another look at the major stories. Fubara lauds defection of PDP senators, reps to APC. Tinubu urges unity, religious tolerance to Nigerians. Reps investigate alleged errors in tax reform acts. FD begins full digital transition with ECMS launch. Guinea-Bissau military junta releases 6 opposition politicians. Simon confident Super Eagles will overcome Tunisia. Davido joins Uncle Adeleke's Accord party. I am Francis Neka. Thank you for watching. You can follow us on our social media platforms on X, formerly Twitter, at Atlantic TV Net, Facebook and YouTube at Atlantic Television Network. Watch us live on our website, atlanticnetwork.tv. Remember, peace and unity are the pathways to progress. Thank you for watching.